Hi, today we'll discuss on how to store the data. Long back, if you have to store the data, the only option was file system. As shown in the previous video, we used to do you can do a VI in a Linux system and type what you require and save it. But the thing is how to store the data more efficiently. That is when databases came into picture. Okay, now let us say I want to store detail of a person, and let us say we want to store his first name and last name. So for that, we'll have to create a table in a database. Okay, let's create a table. I'll call the table as person. Okay, this is the syntax. Now for this table, if you want to create the fields, right? You want to store the information in this table. And as I said, it is first name and last name. So I'll type first name and last name. Okay, but we can do this more efficiently, right? Thing is, we can tell the database what kind of data type it will be storing. So as part of the syntax, we can, for the create table, we have to specify what type of information will be coming in. Okay, so let's say both are string. Okay, now we can have something called constraint. That is, if anybody wants to store any information in this particular table, they have to mandatorily give first name and last name of the person. Okay, so how will we specify that? We will add a constraint that is not null. So this will make sure that no null information will be there in the database. Now for each of the table, we need to have a primary key. What is a primary key? It will have a unique value to represent a unique row. Okay, so let me create one unique key called as ID, but I'll name it as person ID. Okay, but the people who will be inserting the data to this table need not give this value, right? It doesn't make sense for people to enter an ID for it. This is this primary key is used for storing the data in a better way by a database, right? So what we can do is we'll not take this information from the user. So we'll say now we will say the data type for this is a number, okay, and we'll say it is generated by default as identity, okay, and we will just make that key as primary key. Primary key is just to make the fetching of the information better. So I'll say this is a primary key, that person ID is a primary key. So, and the syntax is for each line of, like when you define every field, you have to put a comma at the end. So for the last field, you don't have to put any comma. This is just for the database to understand that this particular information is for a particular field. And this is how a syntax is. So let us run. Okay, for the demo purpose, I have already created the table as a person. Now let us do one thing. If it is already there, we can do drop table person to drop it. See, the thing is, in your file system, you can create a file, right? And the only way to you can't there is no option to create say two files with the same name. So this is how this is how we drop it. Okay, and let's proceed. Okay, now the table is created. Now let us see what is there in the table called person. There is no data. Okay, what is the select? Okay, this command select star from person tells us that show us all the data present in the table person. You can also specify particular column names if you want to only view that particular field or attribute. Okay, now there is no data. Let us see what is the structure of this table. Okay, so here we can see that we have a table with three columns, that is person ID, first name and last name. And we have the type, what we have mentioned here, and we have also the constraint. So, okay, now let us see how to insert some data to this table, right? We'll say insert into a person. Okay, now we will specify what data we are inserting. For example, in this case, it is first name and last name. Okay, we'll say this after this, we'll say values. That is what we are doing. We are passing the values, right? So let us say first name is Joe and second name is Biden. Okay, because this is a string value, I'll be passing it in a single quote. Now let us run this. It says one row inserted. Now I will run this command to select the information what is there in the table. Okay, for this is how it works. I want all the fields. Okay, so here we can see that we had entered only two values, that is the first name and last name, right? But this particular ID, the database itself has created it. Now let us see inserting another name. I'll say Suman, but and let us run this. Okay, again it says one row inserted. Now let us see how the data is stored. Okay, so here we can see that the second row which we just inserted has been whatever we have inserted is present here. Okay, so in this video I have briefly discussed about how to create a table and how to drop a table and how to insert a data to a table. So basically using databases to work with the data is much more convenient than storing them in a file. That's how this concept of database management, DBMS, came into picture. We'll discuss more about DBMS, Oracle, SQL in coming videos. Please do subscribe to our channel for more such interesting videos, and thank you.